Even dreams aren't black and white. Sometimes they mix up strange images with familiar scenes, and past memories with possible revelations. And a special talent for someone can be a terrible curse to someone else. She was a natural artist. She tirelessly destroyed and created things. She couldn't start the repetitiveness of daily life. To her, it was an invisible prison. She always wanted something new, and she got it easily. The only thing she could never have was patience.
Welcome back for some more Epic 7 lore. Today, we're diving back into the little things of Orbis. And although this may not seem like a little thing, believe me, it's a bit of lore that was very obscure. I'm certain that there may have been many of you that may have missed it. I want to talk about a character that is loved by probably every heir out there for her cute, timid, playful nature, and for her innate destructive power. She is known in-game as the Queen of Illusions, and in my opinion, should be included in future installments of the lore, because of how effective she is at one of the most debilitating powers in human history, the art of deception. And as always, expect spoilers to her involvement in the main story. So, who is the Phantom Queen? Over the past several weeks, I've been rewatching and reading as many of the side stories that I possibly can, because there are very significant tidbits of lore within the myriad of playful, adventure-filled stories that E7 has gifted us with. To further research, I like to scour the internet for confirmation of my theories, to see if anyone else has come to the same conclusions as I have. More importantly, I check to see if there is anything in-game that I may have missed that could either further prove or disprove the theory that I'm working on. So, how many of you knew that our Phantom Queen actually had a backstory? Yeah, until recently, I had no idea until I was reading a random post from 2019 talking about the theory that I want to present to you today. For many, their one true waifu, for those that don't know, was suspected to have been the original protagonist of the game, alongside Ras, before the main story was rewritten. Ras was originally related to Tywin, hence why they look so similar. If you watch the early promotional material, it's Tenebria in a Wanderer's cloak, similar to Adventurer Ras's cloak. How appropriate then that she would still be one of the most popular characters in the E7 narrative, and yet coming out of episode 1, we have yet to encounter her apart from certain side stories. The Acolytes themselves warrant their own video on their own, but to give us brief summary, they appear to be entities outside of the Archdemon, and are said to be born out of the negative energy of Orbis, so it does not make much sense for them to have disappeared just because the Archdemon was no longer necessary, after Ras successfully purified and absorbed its essence. As we see in episode 2 and 3, there is still an abundance of negative energy to go around. And so, I would like to rally those of you that love this character and want to see more of her to write to Smilegate during these feedback notices on the events and demand that she be brought back into the main story. And maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to convince you that Tenebria should be brought back in the capacity of this theory. And also, quickly, while writing this script, I realized that this was going to be an incredibly long video. So I'm going to be splitting it up into two, where I go into Tenebria's backstory for those that may have missed the hidden story that it takes place in, and then release the theory in the next one. So, without further ado, let's go through what I didn't even know existed until recently, that Tenebria has a backstory. This is the story of our Phantom Queen. In a rather obscure side story within an even more obscure hidden story, Blood and Roses, starring Haste, Assassin Collie, and Melissa, there is a precious gem of a tale following Charles and Corvus as they investigate a mansion that is said to be cursed. This occurs during episode 2, shortly after Charles receives the rallying letter from Violet asking for the armies of Britannia to assist in the battle against Straze. Before they depart for Sidonia, while waiting for the other forces of Riengar and Tyrannor to join them, Charles and Corvus set off on what they thought would be a short stroll through a broken-down mansion after rumors have spread even as far as Tyrrell Castle. Along the way, they encounter monsters whom they dispatch, but they also encounter a suspicious woman who begins to tell them a story about the mansion's truth, which occurred before the Archdemon's arrival onto Britannia. This seemingly proves that the Acolytes are separate from the Archdemon and Illyros. In fact, Illyros may not have even batted an eye at them throughout the war. Anyhow, Charles and Corvus are suddenly afflicted by visions and hallucinations, forcing them into an illusion. A long time ago, the mansion was home to a duke, his wife, and their only daughter. This daughter was brilliant and inquisitive, but arrogant, oftentimes playing tricks on the servants because to her, other people were simply tools to get what she wanted. Tutors would quit as a result of her belligerence towards them, and she was so carefree that she would also, without fear, dabble in dark magic spells, found in ancient spellbooks from their exquisite library. Her overwhelming curiosity would eventually lead to her rebellion of all rules. One day, the Count's daughter was experimenting with a certain spell when the liquid concoction used began to boil, causing a chemical reaction. The daughter had ordered her maid to hold the glass, but at the last moment, the Countess had barged in and had taken the glass from the maid just before it had exploded, causing the Countess's arm to be scarred. This will be important later. We discover that the daughter has been secretly hoping to watch the maid, and I quote, writhe in pain, suggesting a rather sadistic nature. Charles and Corvus make their way into the mansion through a secret entrance provided by the suspicious woman. While inside, they are greeted with another vision of the Count's daughter in possession of a strange stone that changes color, and every time it changes, she is given a new dream. She is fascinated by how consistently unique and exciting it is due to her prurient nature. It shows her dreams or illusions of situations in the future that we heirs will recognize as events that transpired in episode 1.
In these dreams, I'm a powerful mage who can change people's destinies. I lock up their souls in illusions. I teach an innocent country girl the cruelties of the world by making her pay a price for her wish. I stop a couple from surpassing life and death and reuniting with each other. And I also make fun of a boring and clueless knight.
It is unclear if these events happened while the Count's daughter was dreaming, or if she was simply seeing a premonition of the future. As she continues to indulge in the stone, it eventually indulges back into her. It plays onto her fleeting emotions of wanting to be entertained forever. This being is named in-game as the never-before-seen color that had masqueraded itself as her own voice. Eventually, it convinces her to commit her soul to receiving the power of illusions. She immediately and ignorantly accepts, desiring to know the limits by which people will satisfy their desires, unknowing that the real experiment is actually being performed on her. Back to Charles and Corvus now. They find themselves trapped inside the mansion, wandering aimlessly until they suddenly run into the suspicious woman again, already inside, and question how she got there before they did. She congratulates them on being strong enough to pass by the illusions and encourages them to go further in to discover the truth. Only then will an exit reveal itself. The Count's daughter, filled now with the power of illusions, had been passing her time putting all of the servants and villagers into illusions, and watched them squirm voraciously trying to satisfy their desires until they began brutally murdering each other. Eventually, she would find the bodies of her parents among the carnage. Screaming for the first time in her life, in pure dread, she realized that these illusions were creating very real results, and that there was no one else left alive to help her. She pleaded with the never-before-seen color to end the illusion. Unfortunately, this illusion was real, and so the never-before-seen color offered her a deal to rid herself of the pain.
Give up your humanity. By doing so, you will be reborn as Spectre Tenebria.
It is unclear as to whether or not the never-before-seen color took over Tenebria's body upon the loss of her humanity, or if the Spectre is a human without their humanity. But this is another example of a strange otherworldly rock causing chaos in the world of Orbis. Coincidence? I don't think so. Anyways, I'll just leave that there for you all to think about, now that we've witnessed the end of Episode 2 and the majority of Episode 3. Charles and Carvis are then confronted by Dark Tyrant Tenebria, who appears to be guarding something within the mansion. Employing all of their tactics as the greatest knights of the Kingdom of Ezra, they are able to subdue Tenebria to the point where she mocks them by telling them that she's bored of fighting and disappears. It is my interpretation of this scene that there is one true Tenebria, and that the other versions are illusions themselves that are so powerful that they have begun to take physical form on their own. The knights retrieve the small stone left behind from the Dark Tyrant and make their escape. When they make it outside, they are once again startled by the suspicious woman, who congratulates them again and thanks them for their services as knights, and even names them. They are surprised to know that their cover has been so easily seen through. The suspicious woman then takes the stone from the mansion and tells them that the stone contains within it the humanity of a girl, and that now that it has been freed, she will be in waiting until the girl returns to retrieve her humanity. As she disappears from sight, Charles notices that the woman has a rather harsh scar on her arm, like it was burned, suggesting that the woman was indeed Tenebria's mother, the Countess. This is the story of our Phantom Queen. So, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to cut it here and release the theory in part 2 separately. If you want to see the theory regarding Tenebria, like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Epic 7 lore. Let me know what you think about this backstory for Tenebria, and how this connects to the present day lore in the main story. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep it real.